with other parts of the world. So I think overall it's a positive thing for the global economy.
And the world is in turbulent times as coronavirus continues to wreak havoc on global economies, calling for innovative solutions as communities struggle to stay afloat. Ashoka, a network of social entrepreneurs in Africa and the world, is championing creative homegrown solutions to counter coronavirus shockwaves. Let's now speak live to Vincent Odhiambo, who is a regional director for Ashoka in East Africa, to shed more light on this campaign. Vincent, many thanks for joining us here on Bottom Line Africa. Talk to us a little bit about social entrepreneurship. Everyone seems to be talking about it, but what is it?
Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me. I really appreciate it. So one thing I must say that Ashoka, being a global organization, a global network of about 4,000 leading social entrepreneurs, is credited for having defined the field. This is because our founder, Bill Drayton, is the one who came up with the term social entrepreneur. So from our understanding, what we see social entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurs to be, these are men and women who are creatively solving for different challenges within their communities. And they are using their entrepreneurial skills also. They're applying their entrepreneurial skills and entrepreneurial mindset to scale these solutions. So what you've seen is that these social entrepreneurs, they sort of change national policies. They design new models that can be replicated by others. And their growth strategy is also based on people positively being impacted rather than thinking profit or revenue. And it's because of this reason also that Ashoka is very keen on partnering with organizations and institutions that are aligned with Ashoka's vision of everyone a changemaker world. And this is why we are partnering with Tangaza University to host the annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship. But also seeing that the pandemic has affected social entrepreneurs in a big way. Ashoka is also running Changemaker United in Africa, so working with a number of social entrepreneurs and young change makers to help them, scale their innovations, to help them make connections with other strategic partners, and also just to shine a spotlight on them, hoping that this will inspire, the next generation of social entrepreneurs or more Africans getting into social entrepreneurship, because we believe we are at a point where we need to match the challenges that we are seeing across Africa with solutions. And the only way to do that is when we get everyone, one self-identifying as a change maker, but also understanding what social entrepreneurship is all about. So there is a need to continuously support the field. The convenings such as Changemaker United, such as Annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship, provide these kind of avenues where social entrepreneurs get to meet with strategic partners, one, and also they get to showcase their innovations. What is it that they do that is different from your traditional entrepreneur, and also creating linkages between them and industry. And also these are spaces where we can use to bring some of the issues, some of the challenges that are affecting social entrepreneurs. For instance, policy and legal framework. This is an issue that has been canvassed a lot by social entrepreneurs. It is one of the barriers to social entrepreneurship, to the growth of the sector. So we are using this kind of convenings to bring some of these issues to the fore, and in so doing, hoping that policymakers that we are connecting with, other enablers of the ecosystem that we are connecting with, that we are bringing to this kind of convenings, are able to join forces with social entrepreneurs to find where they can move some of these barriers. Mm-hmm. So I would say that is the way we look at social entrepreneurship, and the way we are seeing it having contributed a lot, especially around this time of the pandemic. We have really relied on their leadership, on their innovations. We've seen a lot of social entrepreneurs stepping up around the pandemic season to either scale some of the innovations that are addressing issues that have come to the fore because of the pandemic. So we believe it is high time we shine a spotlight on social entrepreneurs. We find ways to move barriers for social entrepreneurs, and we build this big coalition around social entrepreneurship in Africa and of course across the globe.
All right, so like you explained, Vincent, it's going beyond profits to looking at how does your business, or what problem does your business solve in society. But let's talk about the constraints that are facing social entrepreneurship. Now, we've seen with COVID-19, many businesses that are not tech savvy, not ready for shocks like a pandemic go under. But what constraints do social entrepreneurs face, especially in terms of policy? We've seen Kenya, for example, in recent days introduce what they call digital tax, so essentially trying to tax businesses that are operating online on social media and whatnot. Are these some of the constraints, and how do we get beyond them?
So I think one of the things, like I mentioned, so there is a whole issue of legal and policy framework. So you find social entrepreneurs, get their ventures registered across different legal regimes. Some are registered as NGOs, some are social, companies limited by guarantees, some as NGOs, some as trusts. So the fact that there is no proper place where we can say this is where social entrepreneurs are registered, that becomes a barrier, because then it means that the tax implications, access to financing, all these things come to bear on where, an enterprise is registered. So I'd say that is the most fundamental challenge for social entrepreneurs. Then the other challenge is, of course, just getting to understand what is social entrepreneurship and who is a social entrepreneur. So not having a clear definition of who that is and what that really entails is in itself a barrier. So that's why you say like some of these, like this convening, the annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship, comes in to help the public really get to understand the nitty-gritties of social entrepreneurship, what distinguishes a social entrepreneur from a traditional entrepreneur. And once we have this kind of, a barrier around what the definition, then some of the smaller barriers can be easily addressed, like taxation, access to funding, training for social entrepreneurs, something that Tangaza University is really good at, and that's why one of the reasons why we are connecting with them, especially the Institute of Social Transformation. So looking at all this training and how do you attract talent, how do you retain this talent, the funding bit that I've mentioned, the legal and policy framework that I've mentioned. So these are some of the challenges that are really coming to bear on social entrepreneurs. And also, I would say just not having many policymakers understanding what this is all about. So social entrepreneurs don't have champions. They don't have as many champions within the policy sort of making landscape. And so that's the reason why we want to connect with more policymakers to have them better understand social entrepreneurship, to become the champions of social entrepreneurship. And having said that also, I think the other barrier for social entrepreneurs is scaling their innovation. So you find there are so many social entrepreneurs with world-class innovations, cutting-edge innovations, but the challenge around scaling, and this probably could be to do with barriers of trade, could be all these other things that we're trying to address. So I would say those are the main challenges for social entrepreneurs. A definition of what social entrepreneurship is all about, a proper legal and policy framework for social entrepreneurship, access to financing, and of course, this being a new field, there is need for more, established social entrepreneurs to support the emerging social entrepreneurs. So training, coaching around that, mentorship around social entrepreneurship, those are some of the key things that we believe will address this. And that's why when you see like a convening such as the Changemaker United or even the annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship being established to help address this, it tells you it's high time for more stakeholders, sort of a global support for social entrepreneurship. And especially in Africa, because we are seeing that social entrepreneurship, and this has been said in different forums, is potentially the next paradigm for economic growth and development, which of course is also quite inclusive, addressing the issue of inclusivity, and kind of just thinking the whole idea of creating impact in the society rather than just thinking profit and revenue. And this is something that also the business sector, the private sector is learning from social entrepreneurs. And these kind of convenings are helping us provide those kind of linkages, linkages between the two ecosystems of social entrepreneurship, higher education, and this is reference to the annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship, and then also linking them with the industry, linking them with government, linking them with private sectors and other enablers.
So when let's talk a little bit about the business environment, not just in Kenya, but in Africa as well, as we look at how to sustainably use the model of social entrepreneurship to solve community-based projects in Africa. But does the ease of doing business, the business environment in African countries allow for social entrepreneurship to thrive?
Yeah, so the business environment also still doesn't, and I think this is where this is the reason why I was saying there's need for that very clear distinction between running business for the sake of running business, and the people who are doing this, the traditional entrepreneurs, will basically tell you how the landscape is disadvantageous to them. You can imagine that, and then you can imagine how then it is disadvantageous to social entrepreneurs who are also trying to, position themselves. Bringing all this social impact, but at the same time, they're being pushed to sort of operate within the same environment that the traditional business entrepreneurs are operating. Mm-hmm. So you find that then there becomes a disconnect there. So social entrepreneurs suffer, I would say, double jeopardy. So you are in an environment, you're being pushed to operate in an environment that is, quote unquote, favorable to traditional businesses, but also the traditional businesses don't find this as favorable. Mm-hmm. Now, social entrepreneurs coming in to say there are all these challenges in the community and I have solutions for them, whether it's increasing access to increasing access to service, increasing access to goods, whether it's changing, policy around pertinent issues, but they're being pushed to operate within that very same environment that traditional businesses are already finding hard. So, social entrepreneurs suffer double jeopardy in that respect.
All right, many thanks, Vincent.